Good afternoon and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show. Alan Finn here with you again at Boyles of Killorglin, and I'm joined as always by our gardening expert Miguel. Miguel, how are we doing?
I'm alright.
You're good this week?
Not really, but
No.
I pretend.
Lie, just have a joke. I know,
pretend.
you're good, all is good
I'm
here.
alright, yeah,
Things are really
everything
busy in the garden centre.
Yes, they are.
Very, very busy.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So listen, last week we talked about perennials. There were actually annuals
Here,
during because of the climate. But this week we're actually going to talk about perennials.
Real perennials.
Real perennials.
Real perennials here and there.
Here and there.
We thought that talking about perennials, instead of always talking about creating a border and colors and things like that, we could talk about perennials from a different approach. More general, not how do they behave, what you could expect in certain plants, what are good, what is bad, and I don't know, for example, just for a start, like if you like growing from seeds, like we have talked about that the other day with the perennial border episode or program, we're talking about you can grow it, you can start from seeds, but sometimes you are not going to have flowers for the first year. So it depends on the perennial plants you have. You could expect certain things or another different. So say you start from seed and the first year you don't even know what it is. It could be a weed.
Because it's just leaves.
It's just leaves. So you have to be patient.
Okay.
So it's a curious world because in the perennial, the herbaceous perennials is many different plants with many different behaviors. Some of them they like full shade, some of them they like full sun, some of them they do well in partial shade. Some of them, see, we have here a geranium. Okay, geranium is a perennial plant. This geranium, this in particular, some of them are very hardy, but this one is a perennial geranium that comes from a warm climate.
Okay.
So if a perennial comes from a warm climate, don't like cold winters.
No, it don't.
Okay?
Yeah. So it's not going to last.
You could expect a short lifespan in certain plants because they come from warmer climates. Okay. And the opposite, you could expect long. Sorry, not the opposite. On the other hand, you could expect short lifespan depending on the plant, not only because coming from warmer climates.
Okay.
So lupins. For example, lupins, 3-4 years is what you're gonna get.
Okay.
While some of them they last nearly forever. So warmer climate plants, 2-3 years, and then what happens it's some plants like are naturally from colder climates, like iris or plenty more like iris peonies.
Yeah.
Plenty of plants that come from colder climates.
Or climates similar to ourselves.
This climate.
Yeah.
They like cold winters.
Okay.
So what happens then is if you get a very mild winter, you will have not a few scattered flowers, but
it won't perform to its best
while
because
it's very cold.
Yeah. Okay.
You have a spectacular flowering on those things. So it's a curious thing.
But I'd say, Miguel, as well too, like the way that, especially with global warming, and even we find ourselves here in Ireland, the climates are kind of changing very much, even in this northern part of Europe. So, like there is, as you said, you've had a geranium for 6-7 years, and there's also the opposite. You know, you could have one that might only last a couple of months. So it's hard, obviously, for a gardener, and I would say probably a little frustrating. At times that they don't quite perform.
What I can tell you is I've been here for 10 winters, 10 winters, and none of them has been the
consistent.
Same.
Yeah,
it's not like, I don't know, if you're living in the middle of Spain, you can expect -5 degrees in the winter, and you're gonna get that.
Yeah.
Here you can have a winter of 10 or 7 minimum.
Yeah.
And then another winter of -9, and then another winter sunny, another winter rainy.
Yeah.
And you cannot know.
Yeah, no,
so
I suppose
where we're going here is that you could expect some losses for
Yes.
many reasons, right? For too much water, for too much cold,
too much shade,
for the type of the plants.
Yeah.
Some plants are also selected for a short lifespan for commercial reasons. At the end, growers want to keep selling.
Yes.
And we want to keep selling.
So why sell people plants that are going to last for 10, 12 years? Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to have that in mind, that you can have losses. You have to be
Patient.
Not only, well, it's a curious thing now that you say it. It's, some of them, they will die in 3 years. Some of them, they won't reach their full potential till they have 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So it's, as I said, it's a very big world that we said, all right, perennial plant. But perennial plants are grapevines, are blackcurrants, are plenty of vegetables. So we go to that later. We can give a list of, well, no, what not mint, oregano, thyme, rosemary, all perennials. Some people consider even apples as a perennial.
Oh, right, okay.
Perennial trees.
Apple trees, right.
But it's plenty, it's a very big world. So you have in mind that depending on your orientation, depending on your climate, your weather, Kells Bay is a microclimate there. You have warmer winters, maybe you can try something different. Have in mind that some of them, they will spread. When you plant your garden, some, for example, some Peruvian lilies, they will spread eternally, basically, and they will create a fantastic bush that will be overgrowing your other plants. Then more things you need to know is some of them will die, but some of them, let's say, for example, I've been bringing things to explain a little bit. Iris, which is a very nice
Siberian iris now as well, too,
Siberian
which
iris
is a beautiful purple.
Cold climate.
Cold climate, yeah, that's it.
Siberian.
Yeah.
These fellas, in a few years, they will stop flowering.
Okay.
In a few years, they will stop flowering. That will be telling you that you need to divide the plant.
Okay, right.
Divide the plant. How will you do that? Normally, this iris will create a ring. Eventually, it's
normally a pretty big one,
a pretty large ring with nothing in the middle.
Yeah.
So depending on the flowering period, so if it's in the spring, you have to do it in fall.
Right.
But if it's a late blooming like asters, like flower in October, you have to do it in the spring. Right?
Okay.
You divide the plant.
Right, so that's what that's for. So
that's what I brought this year.
For our listeners, it's a kind of it looks like a little kind of a shovel, but it's flat and it's obviously a divider.
Yeah, it's a perennial spade.
Perennial spade, okay.
And that is very useful for dividing perennials.
Yeah.
So what you do is lift up the whole plant.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole ring, that whole ring.
Okay.
Dig in the spade, pump.
All around, yeah.
All around, lift it up, and you divide it and plant it somewhere else.
Okay.
So what you do that is regenerate the plant.
Okay.
And you're gonna have plenty of different irises.
Right.
If you don't have room, I hope you have friends.
You could be donating them left, right, and centre to everyone in the estate or where you're living or anything like that. Yeah.
So
it happens a lot with a lot of the perennials that after a couple of years they stop producing flowers, and that's their sign.
Some of them.
Okay.
Some of them.
But the iris would be one.
So phlox or this type of long lupins in this case that we have here.
Yeah.
Will die before you need to divide them.
Okay.
But some of them, black Itzos and the Rudbeckia, that's 3-4 years and you should be dividing it. That's probably the quickest one.
Okay.
But some of them it take longer, 4, 5, 6 years. Irises will take around 6 years.
Okay.
6 years, I would say, 5-6 years to need. Not to need. Maybe they still flower. They're still all right, but you'll see already the ring around. Okay. It's good time for doing it.
Yeah.
You can leave it till it stops flowering fully. One more thing. Some of them, they go, it's a curious thing, I don't know exactly why, I think during their life cycle, they go dormant for 1 year.
For 1 year?
For 1 year,
okay. They could, okay.
They could go dormant for 1 year.
Kind of time out, take a break.
Something like that to bring back in better conditions. And it's plenty of different behaviors, plenty of different heights, as we have been talking about.
Yeah.
See the dahlias, I brought a dahlia because dahlias, even if they are hardy, it's a good practice to lift them up the ground.
Okay.
So
So
all know.
even though they'd last the full year, you know, you always say that to take up the tubers, to dry them out and kind of put them in the shed during the harsh winters.
Even the hard, so they should be coming back. The hardy dahlias, they should come back year after year with no problem.
Okay.
But they could get lost.
Yeah.
So it's a good practice if you want to keep them safe. Some dahlias are spectacular. The extra large ones are mind-blowing, in my opinion, with different tones and
beautiful colors.
And it's worth the trouble of digging them up.
And
and you'll get more for next year anyway.
Yeah.
And you know, the practice is wait until the plant disappears fully, and then cut, dig, and clean, dry, and store it in the shed, somewhere dry and nice and easy.
Okay.
When it's not very warm, when it's a cool place.
Yeah. Okay.
There is plants that fully die back, and it's also perennials that remain. Some flowers remain that semi-evergreen perennials.
Okay.
Depending on the winter, for example, Astromerias don't necessarily disappear if it's a mild winter.
Okay.
You shouldn't be surprised if they die back, but in my aunt, as present, I brought her to Astromerias in Motril, the south of Spain. They perform beautifully there.
Okay.
They don't die back.
They don't die back.
They
okay.
don't die
so
back.
Again, it's a warm climate, ideal
So
perennial.
if the winter is not cold enough, some of them will have some
little color.
Or some leaves remaining. Some of them are semi-evergreen.
Okay.
Some of the perennials will have something, but you have in mind that most probably they are going to disappear fully, and next year your husband is going to come and think that is weed and treat them, or your wife.
Yeah.
So be careful with that, because some of them, some asters can look like especially not the invasive one, but the spreading one.
Yeah.
They look like different types of weeds, and you're
so they kind of look similar to other types of weeds. Okay,
and
right.
You're pulling
so
out
careful,
early spring, and you're pulling out all the age. No, you'll realize when you pull, you're gonna take a long route with you. So
that's
that
the
will
sign.
be realized.
It's
But be careful, because it's not the first time that someone comes and said, my husband treated them with Roundup, thinking that will they be coming back?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So be careful with them.
So it's very important, Miguel, obviously from all of this information that you're kind of giving us, that the perennials, you really need to kind of know a little bit more about them. So it's a case of, is a lot of this information on the labels of them, or is it's more the expertise from yourselves?
Plenty of information always in the labels, but it's things like they won't tell, like
the Nepitas.
For example, there's plenty of them that if you deadhead them, they will have a second flower in 4 or 5 weeks after.
Okay.
And I am bringing this up with the Nepita, because if you go with a pair of shears when the first set of flowers are gone, and you don't have to be deadheading one by one. You go with the shears, clip.
Cut them all off at the top,
in 4 weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks, you'll have a second set of flowers. So that's very, very nice, very interesting if you want to prolong. Some plants, they could have, like emerocallis, daylilies, they could have flowers in the spring, and then they could have flowers in fall as well, if you know how to look after them. But they are all different. It's many information in the labels. It's a big world. Some of them, they like full sun, as we said.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing.
That
we'll finish on that, because like that's it. Yeah, there's ones that would be more suitable to shade, more sun, and you were even just saying seaside as well. So there's loads of options.
We have here the rhodanthem is very good for seaside, but we have erigerons. We have plenty of plants that are good for coastal areas, for shady areas like hostas, calla lilies, for sunny places like geraniums or Peruvian lilies. So it's a place it's a plant for every place.
Yeah.
And just don't go with the flower, let's say.
Okay.
So we have a very nice shady plant somewhere at the center. I think we could do a shady plant.
I think we might do one, because I think a lot of people do have a lot of areas.
We have polemoniums here. See, it's a polemonium here. Those are loving. They love shade.
Okay.
They won't do well in full sun.
Okay.
So check what you want. Don't get blinded by the flower and put it there, because it could be the wrong place.
Wrong place. Yeah.
And then mulch. Just, I don't know if we have many more time. Would do it? No?
No.
It's just mulch in the winter. When they disappear, just mulch them with a decent layer of compost or manure or bark or whatever you want.
Okay.
Mulch them to protect them, especially lupins and that, geraniums or other plants that are for warmer climates. They would be very grateful with it.
Yeah, just that extra little bit of cover.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And a little bit of food for next year.
And food for next year. Yeah. Excellent. Well, there's plenty of food for thought for a lot of people there, and hopefully a lot of information that a lot of people might have not known before. Perennials is a huge part of every garden, but knowing all of these little details, and of course praying that the weather plays ball with us as well, Miguel, is always a huge thing.
Yes.
Roll the dice. It's roll the dice. So listen, that's it for the garden show this week. As I said, hopefully you've got loads of information, and we'll give you your garden that extra bit of green and extra bit of colour. So until next time, happy gardening.